What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Player One versus World, our YouTube channel here. Obviously, we have Adam here, my co-host from StrangeCast. But forget about Adam as well, and forget about me because we have a very well, Adam, because we have a very special guest on here.
Oh yeah, we do.
We don't have, it's very rare to get someone as great as this on because we have Lilli Hokama on here, who is none other than Khan in the Expanse, a Telltale series. Lilli, welcome. Hello, how are you?
Thank you. I'm well. I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to talk to you all and talk about the Expanse. So.
Me and Adam have said we wanted to get you on here for so long because we love Khan. It was an absolute standout for us, and we obviously got loads to talk about that, including Deck 9, Expanse, etc. But before that, I would say this as well for a plug. If you are new here, do consider dropping subscribe on the channel, turn notifications, and like the video as well. It helps you support the channel and keep up to date with the content. We obviously do a podcast as well, me and Adam, StrangeCast. We do other content so you can keep up to date with us. And we do interviews like this, which is just for our YouTube channel, so you can always watch stuff on here. But that's besides the point. Lilli, we have had Erika Mori on here. We've had Stephan Frost on here.
Yeah.
We have had Zachary Andrews on here from Deck 9. We've had people all from the Expanse, and the kind of fitting theme we've started is with Erika Mori because we have a lot of history of Erika Mori. I've interviewed her a couple of times for Life is Strange and also the Expanse. She's come on our other podcast and thrown a couple of punches at Adam when he's tried to backtalk her. But I wanted to talk to you about her first because I feel like that's kind of entry point, because she was came on the Expanse and off recording, she was like, we need to speak to Lilli. She's like, you need to speak to Lilli, get her on the podcast. So I think it's a good way to start with this. What was it like working with Erika Mori for you?
It was great. Honestly, not enough time. We just didn't have enough time together because she kind of filled in towards the end when Cara couldn't be there. And I love Erika. She's so easy to work with, and she's just so delightful and punchy, as you said. She's incredible. And also having another half Asian around, it's really, you just automatically have a bond with someone. So yeah.
Well,
I was gonna say
go on, Adam.
No, I was gonna say you're familiar with the East Coast, and when I talked with Erika, I'm like, are you sure you're not from the East Coast? You're just giving punches and jabs just like an East Coast. She's like, nope, never spent time with them. I'm like, I call bull.
Yeah, I know. She'd do very well there.
She would. She would do well in New York, Philly, maybe. Sure, why not? But she's definitely had a past life in Jersey, at least,
Oh, Jersey. Oh, for sure. I could see that.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, I can see that hard for sure.
So question. Sorry. Here's my random question. So you said that Erika is easy to work with. She's a good, reliable person. That may be true or not true. Erika watches these, and you're just trying to make face here. But I want to ask, as a professional actress, as someone who is in that field, you say Erika's easy to work with, but in your mind, don't call out any names unless you want to. But what are the qualifications of someone who's just bad to work with?
Ooh, oh man, I would say. So the whole thing in acting or whatever, it's always yes and. So no but people are probably very challenging for me to work with. I very much appreciate collaboration, and Erika is definitely someone that's open to kind of collaboration. So I just think having an energy that's yes, and what about this? It just automatically makes things easier. So no but people are not great. People who I think focus on themselves in the process as opposed to the project as a whole or the story as a whole. Just unpleasant people. We all know unpleasant people. When you have bad attitude, when you're not receptive and open, when you are, I don't know. Fortunately, I haven't encountered too many of these folks in my professional world, but gaslighters, I can't stand gaslighters, largely because I also don't know how to address it. I need more of that punchiness for gaslighting, honestly, but
yeah,
still learning that.
Yeah, is there, I guess that would be kind of an issue in the acting world, just like someone saying like, no, like you didn't do that, I did that right. Yeah, I've seen that happen too.
Yeah, totally. And then you're just like, well, I don't know what to say. We clearly have a very different understanding of reality or truth. So nothing I say seems to, like, I don't know if it would have any effect.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Lilli, one thing I wanted to ask you is, are you familiar with Meisner?
Meisner, yes. The Meisner.
Do you like Meisner?
Controversial, for sure. I think that there are, I think the way that I personally approach this art form is that I have experienced loss, I've experienced love, I've experienced guilt or shame, or the whole spectrum of human emotion. But that doesn't, so it feels similarly in the body in certain ways. But I think what's challenging with Meisner is it asks you to bring those things up in sometimes unhealthy or unnatural ways, for the sake of this, oh, but I'm method acting, or this, whatever it is. And I think that just in general, there's this really unfortunate lie that's been told that art is pain, or if you're not suffering, you're not a true artist. And I think that people who feed into Meisner technique maybe are still really holding on to that, I need to suffer for my art. And quite frankly, I think we suffer enough as human beings in this world. And I think it's hard being an artist anyway. So why would you put yourself through that horrendous experience when you're getting to do something you love? So it's just kind of backwards in my mind. Granted, there are some incredibly effective method actors out there. But I think it then toes the line of what is artistry versus what is not.
It's quite interesting you mention all that, because you kind of overlap with a lot of stuff that Zachary Andrews said to us when we spoke to him yesterday on the recording. And then also I can see why Erika Mori likes you, because she fucking hates Meisner with a passion, as she said. So I feel like you're in her camp. So I feel like that's why I understand why she. But we kind of started off with Erika Mori on purpose, because when we had Erika on here, she said that she actually auditioned for Khan. She was one of the actresses who went for it. Yeah, and then also we also heard from Zach, and we heard from Stephan that there was so many people interviewed from different ages, different people from different ethnicities. But you're here, and they said that you're much younger than the person that they expected, because obviously Khan's the inspiration that Frost told us for Khan, as well as it's 8-year-old Filipino woman. It's and hang on a minute, we have a very young actress here doing this incredible voice and doing Khan. But and with that as well, when we spoke to we spoke to Zach, he said that your audition was over Zoom. I kind of wanted to go through that process. What was your audition to get onto this role, and then even a Zoom interview? I've never kind of got that through my head, because I've always had an actor being there delivering the lines, but if you're doing it over a Zoom call, the audio might be different, the mic quality might be different. But kind of walk us through how you got onto this project, and even doing a Zoom interview as well.
Totally. I definitely thought it was a mistake when my agent first sent me the audition, because I was a 70-plus-year-old. There's just I just was very shocked. But I'm game for almost anything, so I figured I'd give it a go. And actually, it was perfect. I was working with this woman who's now one of my dearest friends. Her name's Elise Santora. She's a old Broadway diva. But I was doing a show with her, and she's in her 60s, and she smokes like a chimney, and she can be she's an East Coast diva. Nice. So just sitting with her, and I would just listen to the timbre of her voice, and here we go with method acting. But I definitely used a lot of my just time with her to get into a voice thing, or even just hearing the way that she speaks versus a younger person, like the pauses that they take, or, it's just a different kind of delivery. And she taught me how to smoke my first cigar. So in the Zoom callback, so we sent out our auditions, and actually we all got this note back from the casting director that none of us sounded old enough. So they were like, you have to age your voice even more. So I was like, oh boy, okay, here we go. So did that, got through that round. And then I was back here on the East Coast and got the callback. And I was like, well, I can't really go back to Colorado for the callback. So they did the Zoom interview. And I had my little cigar stub from the first cigar my friend taught me how to smoke with. And so I just had that up in my Zoom call. And she even like taught me like cool ways to hold a cigar. Because, it's so much thicker than you realize that like holding it and like smoking it. I just felt like I looked like a total loser, total like young person trying to be cool with a cigar. So it was really helpful to actually just have her and kind of use that. And I used that in my audition. And just talked with Zach and I think Frost was there as well. And one of the producers on the show had done like a bunch of things with Colorado Film School. And back when I was still living in Colorado, I had just like done a bunch of things with Colorado Film School, trying to build my reel before I moved to New York. So he was like, Lilli, I recognize you. I've seen your audition many times at the film school. So yeah, so that was fun. I think, Colorado is a small world. And so it was kind of nice to see all these people.
Yeah. I was going to say, is that probably the weirdest audition process, or do you have like another story that's like probably even stranger than that?
Oh boy. I don't know if it was stranger, but like definitely inappropriate.
Oh.
Or like I was inappropriate for
for the
role, maybe. When I first moved to New York, I didn't have anything to my name. I didn't know anybody. So I went to a bunch of just like cold calls. And I went to the cold call for The Lion King. And I was probably the fairest
like on
person
Broadway?
there. Yeah, it was like the Broadway tour of it. And I was like, you know what, why not? Just go in for it. So I was definitely the lightest person there. Everyone there was like, I come from Colorado. You guys are lucky. I did my hair today and I put on a little bit of face, but I didn't have my hair brushed. I barely had any makeup on. I'm in my hippy dippy skirt or whatever. And just like all these women are just like face done to the nines, like hair perfect. They got their big fat music books. And I was like, oh, I'm really, really out of my league here. And I walked in and I didn't even have any sheet music with me. And I was like, do y'all mind if I just play a song on the piano and sing with myself? And the pianist looked just like appalled, but was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I sit down. Wow. It was mostly that I don't know the names of any of these chords. I just know these things by ear. So I was like, if I had known the name of the chords, I could have just told him. But so I'm just doing these 3 basic chords back and forth, just singing a song, finished my song. And I was like, all right, well, thank you so much. And I walked out of there and I laughed so hard. And I was like, you know what? I think I can do almost anything now. Like, whatever, dignity out the window.
That's all New York, though. It's like your dignity always goes out the window, If you see somebody who's sane in New York.
Constantly. Just, So that was good. This one was easy in the fact that like I could just be in my own home and re-record on I even just did it on my little voice recording on my phone. So it was nothing special or fancy. And then I could repeat it as often as I wanted. So it was actually a pretty... like a relatively calm audition process.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, truly.
So, Lilli, actually, I think we'll move away from the Expanse for a minute. We'll come back to it, obviously, but I think this is a kind of a good springboard into you because, like, you just spoken about an audition you went to, and like this is the Expanse is a different world in itself, like, and the role you're playing of like this 80-year-old character essentially is completely different from anything you'd ever play. But like, how did you get into acting? Like, was it something you always wanted to do, or is it something that you kind of like took on later in life? Like, what's your kind of journey to where you're at right now?
Yeah. I feel like I was very lucky to find my passion early on in life. And when I was 8 years old, we did a Shakespeare unit, and we got to like do an abridged version of a Shakespeare show. And I was kind of a chubby, ugly child, and like, you know, just I didn't really like have a place that I felt like I really belonged in. And I was cast as the ingenue, which was just surprising. And I think it's really just because I was good at memorizing lines. And so they put me in that role, and it was suddenly like, oh my God, I can be someone else. I can like present in a different way. I can like, yeah, this is just like, this is amazing. And people do this for their whole lives. And so I found it pretty early, and I was fortunate to go to Denver School of the Arts, which is just like a arts magnet school for my like middle school years. So I got to kind of like jump into like having acting in my schedule every day during my like regular school hours. And I think just that environment really fostered just an incredible community of people and experiences. And then I think acting has changed in many ways throughout my life. It often used to be a way to like escape myself. And now as I like am getting older, it's a way to find new pockets of myself, which feels very exciting. So I had this like slightly unconventional, what is conventional in like acting and arts world, truly, because there is no blueprint. But I ended up graduating high school early. I did a program called Up With People. I don't know if y'all are familiar with it.
Oh, it sounds familiar. Yeah.
It was really popping in the 70s. But they're still around, and it's like, it's just like a bunch of, it's like 100, it's like a cast of 100 people. We have Americans and then people from all over the world. And then you travel around, you live with host families, and then you have like service projects during the week.
Oh,
Those things go back into your communities you've been living with, and then you have like a performance that you do. So I just got to like travel around the world and travel with a bunch of people from all over the world. And then I started college, and my university kind of feeds into grad school programs. And I didn't want to do that because I was ready to be paid for this thing that I've wanted to do since forever, and didn't want to pay anyone anything more to teach me more about it. So I moved back to Colorado. Well, so first I went to Mackinac Island. Are you familiar with Mackinac Island?
No. Where is that?
Wild. It's in the middle of the Great Lakes. It's like the Midwest resort island.
What?
For Michiganders and like people in that area. It's shocking. It's a very bizarre, weird island, very delightful in many ways. But there's only bikes and horses. It's about 8 miles around. And like, I think 80% of it is actually a national forest. So it's just like woods and greenery. And then what feels like a Disneyland Maine town where we just have carriages and bikes. And it's very bizarre.
Wow.
So I was a ghost tour guide up there, and worked several other jobs in a dress shop and kayak paddleboard instructor. And then I saved up enough money to pay off my school loans, moved back to Colorado, and then just kind of was like, I better grind here before I move to New York or LA, because I don't have any connections from grad school. So I pretty much just worked in Colorado until I got my equity card. And then once I got my equity card, I moved to New York and just started hustling out there.
Dang.
Nice. Yeah. Do you know, in Colorado, did you work in theatre? Because I know there's a very lively theatre scene there. And like Erika knew, for example, Anastasia Davidson, who worked on the Expanse bit on the mocap and also was in True Colors. She like knew her prior to that project because they were part of a Butterfly Effect Theatre of Colorado, I believe it is. But were you in the theatre scene in Colorado?
I was a little bit, yeah. It's funny though, they like, for some of their bigger theaters, they cast out of New York. So I always joked that I was going to move to New York and finally be cast at like the DCPA or something like that. But I did make the circuit in Colorado, and I'm pretty sure you'll have to ask Zach about this, but I'm pretty sure Zach and I met at some point before the Expanse, or at least had some connector point of like, I think I knew you from this one thing. The Colorado scene is pretty tight. It's
Zach did mention something along those lines that he had worked with Anastasia via his theatre work, and he obviously talked about his acting experience. So that would be quite crazy that he worked with you maybe before that. And obviously, I think like we're going to work our way towards Zachary Andrews, because obviously it's quite interesting to talk about your experience working under him. And like me and Adam were blown away by the fact that he had just come in as a performance director for the first time on a major video game and started working on that. But the Expanse mainly as well. Like, were you familiar with the Expanse prior to this project? Do you had any idea about the Expanse? And then, if not as well, like, what kind of preparation did you do? Because we know Khan's an original character for this universe, but then you have like Drummer, who's from the actual show and the books. You have Anderson Dawes, all these other characters who kind of bleed in from that universe. But were you familiar with the Expanse prior to this project?
I'm so embarrassed to say, y'all, I was not at all. I don't even really play video games. Like I said, I'm not technologically savvy. So I did not know anything about it. But when I was cast, I started going through the series, largely because I had a meeting with Zach, and he was throwing out all these terms like the belt and beltalota, and just like all these terms that I was suddenly like,
cool.
I don't think I really know what's happening here. So, I was like, I better catch up on what this world is and what this vocabulary is. So I started going through the Expanse series and watched that. I have not journeyed into the books yet.
Oh yeah. I've only read like a quarter of it, and it's pretty not convoluted. I don't think that's the right term, but it's above my alley. I was dense. Like, wow, it's very dense. And I've read Dune, and it's dense.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Maybe someday, maybe when I'm in my 80s, the book series.
That's what I always say.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
Yeah, so like obviously, like as me and Adam have spoken about, like I'm kind of interested in watching the Expanse now because of this game. Like I've never followed it before this. I kind of only got into it because it's Deck 9 that was working on it, and I'm very keen to like watch the show. It's on my things to do, which is eventually I will get to, probably when I'm in my 80s as well. But like I will watch it at some point. But I wanted to ask you, Lilli, as well. Like take us on this day that you turned up to like mocap as well, because like, did you have any prior mocap experiences? And then also like walk us through the day of a shoot that you had as well, because like Zach gave us really big insight. Like when they had Cara Gee on, it's like they didn't have as many hours as you think you would with her because of all the suiting up. But give us the day in the life of like one of your days on set of mocap at Deck 9.
Yeah, I'd never done mocap before, but it's my new favorite thing. If I could do mocap all the time, for the rest of my life, I would 100% do that. It's great because your costume's always the same. You don't you're not supposed to wear makeup, which is great. And it's just like, it's so easy. The hardest part was probably like getting my hair to fit under the cap. They're always just tying and futzing. Then you can't like hide the different monitors on different spots. And so other than that, it's pretty easy. I think it was so delightful and enjoyable because it's such a good team that they have at Deck 9. Truly, like everyone that works there is just, they're so kind. They're so down to earth. They're very chill. It's just like very smart, talented people. So it's just really delightful being in a room. I feel like I was just like so energized and every time I got in there, even though it was early and they'd been mocapping for like all week, and I just get in there, I'm so happy. So it's pretty easy. You get your little felt suit on, and then they put all these fun little dots on you, and then luckily they changed their system in the middle of our filming, so they didn't have to put all the little dots on our face. And their cameras got better, so we could just use our face. And then they just kind of like have you go through, oh my God, everyone's going to hate me for not remembering this.
The T-pose.
This is the T-pose, yes. But what is whatever the thing is that they like, where they like set all your points, basically. So yeah. Oh my god, this is so embarrassing, y'all. This is why I should.
I mean, all three of us don't know, so we're all in this together now. We're
Erika's going to comment on this, and she's going to be like, "You mean blah blah." That's exactly what it is. But yeah, so we would just kind of go through like little movements and stuff so that they can just like capture every like point of movement on your body and to make sure all the things match up. And then you just kind of go. But it's like the biggest test for the imagination because you're in a fully white room, all white walls, and then just a grid on the floor. And then they're like, okay, so right here is like the edge of your desk and like, here's your cup. And you're just like kind of watching the monitor and like watching where your hand is. And you're like, oh, okay, there's my cup. So it's just wild to be like in a room of nothing and then see a screen of everything.
Can I get confirmation on one story that Xandrews told us?
Oh boy.
I was going to say, is there a story that involves a porch swing and an apple box?
A porch swing? Oh, there is. I don't think that I had to be there for that situation. I think it was for the zero gravity stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
that's right. I honestly, Khan was like a princess track in that, like, because she's so old, she doesn't really do a lot.
Really do anything, yeah.
So like, I didn't really have any combat, which I love stage combat. I would have totally been happy to do that. But like, and she doesn't really run. So she's just like in her pilot chair. So she didn't really have to deal with any of the like zero gravity stuff. But my chair was dope. It was. Oh yeah. Did Zach tell you about the chair?
No, he didn't.
It's very silly, and I love it very much. It was like an old barber seat, and then they just attached these like 2x4s onto it so that those were where my like armrests were, and then they just had like a jimmy rigged pen like taped to the edge of it for the joystick. It's like the most like elementary school like playing dress up at your friend's house kind of makeshift stuff, but it works. Yeah, it's great. And then we'd have someone who like one of the mocap guys would just like swivel my chair around whenever I needed it moved. And that was very delightful. And sometimes I couldn't, they like had to strap me in, so I like couldn't get out of the chair without people's help. But I loved my chair. It was great.
Dang.
That's Lilli, because obviously, like as you said, your performances as Khan, like Khan's mainly in the chair that we see until like more or less the last episode. But with your role, it seems more, I think, like vocally demanding. It seems like I wanted to kind of get into the insight of like you doing the voice because it has to be kept at a certain like level. And was there any kind of preparation you did before you got onto the set? And then also, did you like have periods where you had to take a bit of a rest because it might have strained your vocals? Because it is obviously very different from your voice right now.
Yeah, it is. This is like horrible actor stuff, so I don't recommend, but I didn't really warm up to do Khan, honestly. And maybe because it is so gravelly, it's more just like, I don't know, that morning phlegm kind of helps you out. So I didn't really, if you got it, use it. So I didn't really do too much warming up for Khan. And it was really only like in studio sessions when it was like just getting lines for like repeat moments. My voice would get a little tired, but I would just drink a lot of water. And I don't know. I feel like I was pretty lucky in the.
Yeah.
I think volume was the trickiest part with Khan because it's just really hard to get extremely loud in that range. And like I think there were like certain vowels that I was just like punching a little too hard. Like P's and I think it was my P's that kind of hit a little too hard. So yeah.
So a lot of times especially when we talked to Frost, he said that you were one of the funniest people that he's ever like worked with, or even like the audition of this, like, man, Lilli was just so funny.
Oh my God.
I do want to ask, because you have like this long history of acting, and you went to this prestigious school and middle school. Did you really gravitate towards dramatic acting at first and then evolved into comedic, or has comedic acting just been like a love for you this whole time?
Before you answer as well, just to add on to that, that's big compliments from Frost, because Frost also told us during the recording he's dead inside with like comedy, and it's like to get that, I feel like you've done incredibly well.
No, that is genuinely like I will die happy having that now in recording. Wow, genuinely, so many good questions. I definitely gear towards more dramatic roles. And maybe that's just because as I get older, it's easier to do drama when you're tired.
Yeah.
That's so like comedy just takes a lot more energy. And also like if it's falling flat, it's just, oh God, it just hurts your heart.
Yeah.
So I think drama is probably where I'm most comfortable at, ironically. But I love to laugh personally, and I love to make other people laugh. So I feel like it's just, and there's so many yes and energies in that room of Deck 9 that I think it just made it really easy to play and like joke around with stuff. And Frost is so funny. He is dead inside. Like he's like the dark funny. And I love that. I totally resonate with morbid humor. So maybe we can just connect on that level. So that's why. But he wrote such a wonderful character. Like Khan was just written so well that it just felt like easy to play with, or it was just like, it was like I heard her in my head, or I just like saw her in my head. And I don't know what it was. It was very, I think because she is so dry, that's what I love about her. And Frost was really like he was so great too. Like he was very collaborative in the room, and like if I wanted, like, I'd often go up to him and be like, oh Frost, can I say these expletives, or like what about this here? And he'd be like, oh yeah, try it, or like, oh, what if you add this to it? So mostly I think we were just riffing off horrible collaborations around foul language. Because where we grew our humor.
I was gonna say that he has been quoted to say that Erika Mori tried to send him TikToks, and he's always rated them 6 out of 10s. Have you been able to make him laugh with TikToks, or is not success?
That's hilarious. I'm so jealous. I don't think I've made it to that level with Frost yet.
Oh,
Erika has made it to a new level of sending him TikToks, but challenge accepted. And the new level is about to be unlocked with Frost.
You better get ready. You can get an 8 out of 10 from him.
You know what? I'm really glad we had this interview, because that is this is my new goal for the rest of the year.
So now you got to team up with Erika to try to get him the best TikToks possible.
Exactly. Or if she likes it, I'll know that maybe he won't.
I will give you a hint. He has told me what he finds funny, and I told him that I'm a line cook, and sometimes, when I drop a piece of ham and that slap on the ground, he's like, that gets me. I love the slap of ham on the ground. So if you can find a TikTok with ham slapping on the ground, you can get him.
I love Frost. I think I get his humor. I think I really resonate with that comedy. So yeah.
Dang.
Lilli, I think it's worth keeping on Frost as well, because obviously Frost told us the inspiration for Khan. He's like, I think it's his mother-in-law he's thinking of. He's like, I just had this idea of an 8-year-old Filipino woman. I'm like, what an incredible concept that is, and to put it into execution. But then he also spoke about how he met with the actors and kind of like walked them through the Expanse story. I wanted to know, like, what was it like generally, like hearing the story of the Expanse and also hearing the concept of Khan? And then was there any point that you actually worked with him on mocap? Because I know Tor is in the final episode. And he does kind of like have a bit of almost like a brief encounter with Khan, but like, did you have any time to work with him on mocap or see him during mocap in any shoots? Because obviously he's not a professionally trained actor, and I kept giving him kudos. I'm like, you actually done really great performances as Anderson does. and as Tor. It's like incredible that you're not an actor and professionally trained and you've come in and done these performances.
He's shockingly good at voices. He's probably done some of them for you all too. But even in like reading stuff, he would do the voices. I was like, wow, you got a little something there, Frost.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so delightful working with him, and he was often in the mocap room. Luckily, when I was there, and so like I could kind of have those sidebars with him and like talk about things. And then I think it was probably at like one of our lunch breaks once, he kind of told me about like the inspiration for Khan. And I loved that backstory. And I love just like the thought of this tiny Asian grandma being feisty to Frost. And just like putting him in his place, because he's shocking. He's very tall. He's a very tall human being.
Stephan.
I know.
Really?
I feel like everyone's very surprised when like they find out how tall he is.
How tall is he?
He's like 6'3", 6'4". I don't know. He's shockingly tall.
Dang.
Yeah, I know. And like maybe because his like video is like usually up here, so it's like we're looking down or something. Yeah. I don't know. I was just like, I thought short king for sure. But I was very surprised. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's great though. Yeah.
Oh, Adam, were you gonna say something?
I will get a confirmation that we have confirmation that Erika has him saved as a different name in her phone. Do you know what it is?
I don't. I'm like, it's probably something mean, like potato head. Oh, yeah. It's not. Oh no. Nope. Now it's even more rude that I said that.
Apparently, they were going around like saying like, "Hey, so your porn name would be your." Yes.
Wait. Yes. Oh my god. Oh my god. Tell me the name again, because it is the best name. It's literally the best porn name out there.
Skeeter Denise.
Yes. Skeeter Denise. Oh my god. Obsessed. I love.
Yeah. According to her, she just said like, and Frost, what would yours name be? Oh, actually, Skeeter Denise. Like, and that's going in my phone, Skeeter Denise.
Oh my god, she's so smart to have written that down. I think I like asked him through the course of several filming. I was like, "What was that name again?" This is why you got
it. Lilli, obviously, I feel like we need to, because I want to come on to Zach in a moment, but there's obviously something that I loved in terms of your performance was like there was a scene with Khan and Camina Drummer when they're talking about Khan's history, and she offers the cigar, and with that comes your performance with obviously Cara Gee. Like we've talked about her loads with things. What was your experience like meeting her, working on set and mocap, and then just kind of like being with someone who's like essentially like not Camina Drummer's the main character of the Expanse, but is the focal point of the story, and then like kind of being in her presence, because obviously like I've had a time to watch some of her clips on YouTube from the actual show, and it's like, oh wow, actually she's actually as inspiring as she is in the game as well.
She is, yeah. Her performance in the game is just incredible. I'm obsessed with Cara Gee. I really am. I'm just obsessed with her. I'm actually kind of thankful that I hadn't gotten to her part of the Expanse by the time that I met her, because I think I would have been so much more nervous to meet her. But she's so down to earth. She's so grounded and weird and just like really funny that it was just so it was just like meeting another wonderful human being. So she was just incredibly delightful. And then when I got to the further parts in the Expanse, I was like, oh my god, she's really good. So I'm kind of thankful that like I totally get starstruck. It's like the most unbecoming thing about me. That's not true. There's many things, but I get starstruck so easily. And I totally would have been starstruck by her, but She was wonderful. She's so funny. I think that's maybe also why Frost thinks I'm funny, is because anytime I was with Cara Gee, we were just walking HR issues. She's hysterical. And it's so funny, even though she's native Canadian, something about our faces looks so similar that sometimes in the mocap, I'd see her face and think it was mine, or she would see her face and like we like would mix up each other's faces and like be like moving our own face and be like, why isn't my thing moving? Yeah, just something, and maybe it's the like freckles too or something. I don't know, something about the angle. We just looked like totally like sisters. So I'm determined to play her sister in something. It's gonna happen. But she is an absolute dream to work with. Yeah, she's so incredibly talented. She can just like lock it in like that, which I think made that Khan drummer scene just so special and just like so easy to lock in with her, because she's just such a generous scene partner. Yeah, she's the cream of the crop.
How have you ever met somebody? You said they got starstruck by Cara and she was great to work with. It doesn't have to be on a professional level, but have you ever met a celebrity or somebody you looked up to for the first time and were kind of disappointed or just like heartbroken?
Oh,
you can say Erika Mori, by the way.
Deeply disappointing. No, God. Who have I met? I've been pleasantly surprised by most people I've met. But I was, this is very random, but I was in Guadalupe Valley last year in Mexico. And it's beautiful. It's like wine country, but in Mexico. And it's definitely like a lot more dirt roady and rural feeling, which is, I love. But I was at this restaurant and Meryl Streep walked in with her whole family. And I was like, what a boss move to just like come to this fine ass restaurant with these babies, like infants. And then I like looked closer and I was like, oh my God, that's Meryl Streep. She could literally do whatever she wants. And I like, it took everything in me to not go up and say hi to her. But I also knew, I was like, the greatest respect I can give this woman that I love so much is to give her like her dinner in peace and to like not say anything. But yeah, I was a mess that whole dinner. I couldn't tell you a thing that I ate because I was just watching her the whole time.
Well, like that's good that you haven't like met anybody that's disappointing to you, but I guess it's more disappointing that you never got to meet Meryl Streep. That's the most disappointing part.
That's my main disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Truly.
But at least you got to be in the same like oxygen level as Meryl Streep.
Yeah, it felt important for sure.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Someday we're going to be at a table read together and I'm going to be like, Meryl, I could have, because we'll be on first name basis at that point.
Sure.
Like,
Meryl.
That's just crazy. I actually saw you once at this restaurant in Guadalupe Valley. And we'll just laugh about it. And and then she'll give me her number. And great.
And you won't be creepy about it at all. It's like this one restaurant at 8:58 at the evening time.
Exactly, yeah. You are wearing a sweater with anyway. Well, yeah. It'll be great. It'll be great when it happens, when that day comes.
Yeah. When it happens, not if, when.
When. Precisely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Lilli, we've obviously spoken about a lot of people, and we've had the pleasure of speaking to Andrews himself as well. He's going to be the performance director. He's your kind of like go-to person for this. And as we spoke about, me and Adam, we were like really, kind of blown away by the fact that he's he kind of gave up acting, came into performance directing. It was his first major project. There was so much pressure on him. I kind of wanted to know, like, what was your experience working under his direction? Because, like, obviously Erika, was like in high praise of him, and same with Frost as well, and anyone we've ever spoken to, and even our own kind of pleasure of speaking to him. we said ourselves that we love the performances from everyone and like the direction that was given for it. But like, what was it like working under him? And like, compared to like other directors you had as well, was there anything like you kind of walked away from the project thinking like this guy has kind of made me do something that I never thought I'd do as a performance?
I think because Khan, yeah, well, because Khan is so challenging in her, or just so different in herself than any character I've played. It's hard to fully separate out that question. But Zach was really, really wonderful to work with, and he is clearly, he's so smart and good at just like understanding and knowing the world, and just like, yeah, I feel like he's just good at like really capturing the arcs of storytelling. So he was like a very like wonderful thing to hold on to, you know, like in a process of like an imaginary world and like all these things. I think because he felt so like confident and just like knowing in all the unknown variables, it felt just like I felt safe to like explore in whatever ways I wanted as that person and character. And I think like I also trust his taste, and as well as like Frost's taste. So anything that I did, you know, kind of put out there, I was like, if it's horrible, they'll edit it. So, you know, I think just like trusting their taste and collaboration in that way. And yeah, he was good at just like giving, I think, like hyper specific notes for certain things that were helpful, because it is voice acting. There's just certain things you just don't realize when you get to, I don't know, be a fully embodied character in the same way. So just doing some of those like voiceover stuff, it was nice to have just have him in my head as well.
Oh, very nice, very nice. With mocap as well, because like there seems to be quite like a lot of hoot stories that we heard from this. Like Erika said that she injured herself during one of the stunts on this. We also heard like from Andrews as well that there's all kinds of like different experiences. And even with Frost as well, he said like he had the Judge Dredd face on because they didn't know if Thor had if he had a helmet on, and like Erika kept laughing. But I wanted to ask yourself, obviously you're more grounded with yourself, but what was your favorite memory from like mocap? Like, was there anything that stood out, or even kind of like a blooper moment where you couldn't stop laughing, even if it was like with Cara Gee where you try to do the intense scenes or something?
Wow. This is why I should keep a journal or something to have those specific memories. Because I feel like I just like envision the Expanse, and I just like, it was all lovely. It was all hilarious and lovely. Anytime we were in that room, it just felt like it was very funny. It was just a very funny group of people. I feel like there were some moments that like I had to like hold a serious gaze with Cara. And I think it was almost Izzy, the gal who plays Maya. She was sick and couldn't make it for like some reason. So I was just filling in for her in mocap. I didn't do the voice or anything. And I think it was maybe during some of those like moments. And maybe just because as Khan, I yell at Drummer so much. And then as Maya, it was like, oh, let's be a little flirty. That it just like, it really shifted our dynamic. I think that was just kind of funny. That was just a little funny for us. But man, I wish I had some better specific stories for y'all. It was just, all I can say is it's a funny group of people.
I think the Maya example is very good as well. I think that's quite a nice like memory to have from that. By the way, as well, like because the Expanse has got quite a few rich characters, especially on that kind of like ship that we have. Outside of your own, is there any other character you kind of looked at and thought, oh, actually they're really cool, I wouldn't mind if playing them, or kind of just in general that you kind of gravitated towards thinking, oh, that's an interesting character that's in this game?
Besides Cara Gee's character,
of course, yeah,
obviously she's gonna play that. You know, Maya had such a great change throughout the series. If you look at some of the like earlier versions of the script, Maya was a lot more like, she just seemed a little more timid and just kind of the like cutesy girl sort of thing. and the way that they ended up kind of like re-envisioning her and rewriting her as like this much more badass, like having like sass and like agency of her own, I think was really incredible. And Izzy did a great job with portraying that. That like watching her performance back in these clips is just, that's such a fun character. I probably wouldn't have enjoyed the first version as much, but the version they went with, I really like. Yeah, she's rad. The brothers are really fun. They're just very funny and funny too. But honestly, y'all, Khan is the best character. I mean,
of course, yeah.
I just, if like truly, if there was anyone to play, I would just want to play Khan because she's my favorite.
Yeah. So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, like, now that you've had your experience in like this kind of role where it can be in a video game where characters are interesting and they're dynamic and funny and really cool, did that turn you on to want to be become more of a gamer and play more games, or is this kind of like I'm already seeing a nod, but like what kind of games would you want to play anyway?
Oh, totally. I feel like I would probably go for the more narrative based games.
Sure.
Just because the whole the clicking business, being good at the clicking business feels like it would not go well for me.
Yes.
And that's a steep learning curve that I feel like I'm kind of past the point of having that skill set. So I think I would definitely go to more narrative based games. Because I love hard decisions. I love thinking about making hard decisions. Ironically, they also make me so anxious. But I would definitely, doing the Expanse made me want to play video games.
Yeah. Do you have a console now, or haven't bought one yet?
I don't have a console now. I know.
Switch.
Yeah, right. You know what? Maybe that'll be this Christmas. Maybe it'll come this Christmas, and I'll.
So I was gonna say, I think Erika is in another game that has narrative choice based game. Can't put my finger on it.
I think she's been around before.
Huh.
Strange something.
It'll come back to me. Life is Strange. That sounds right. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Death, life. What is it?
Never heard of it. Lilli, one thing I wanted to ask you as well with this, because we learned so much from Andrews. They were really torn on the voice of like Khan. They just didn't know about it. Like, obviously the concept is quite out there, and obviously it's paid off dividends with your performance. But like, even with the voice, they were like, when we spoke to Frost, we spoke to Andrews, they were like, we needed someone who could kind of get the tone right. You know, she has this gravelly voice, but she has to be a bit like funny with it. And then even Andrew said, like, even at one point they were considering like ADRing someone else in, because they're like, we don't know if Lilli's voice is like the one that's going to finally fit into it. But then on top of that as well, and me and Frost have talked about this on Twitter, in one review that we saw for the game, literally it said positive points on it. At the bottom it said Khan, just Khan, that's it. It was like, out of anything else, like, and me and Adam have raved about Khan. We love Khan. Like, I think outside of Drummer, it was like the character that instantly caught us. But I was kind of like wondering, like, did you kind of expect the reception that you got from Khan? Because like, obviously the eyes are on Drummer, but then for like a lot of us, we've kind of like, everyone kind of just gravitated towards Khan, be like, she's so fucking badass. Like the cigar, the way she talks, she does everything. What's it like when I just say to you, like, there's an actual game review out there, you can go out there and it says in the positives, just says Khan.
This is genuinely, like, it sounds like a narcissistic thing, but it's genuinely Frost's writing, and Iris, like all the writers on this project, they wrote such a good character that I believe that almost anyone, like, you know, could have like done a great job with Khan, and like, I think she still would have been a phenomenal character regardless. I feel really honored that I got to be this person in this character. And it's like definitely been the highlight of my career so far. But she's just written so well that I was like, of course she's going to be a success. How are you not going to love this crass,
I would like to,
lanky lady with a, like, you know, a cigar lighter on her middle finger? Like, that's so badass. Like, there's just, That's cool. That's just cool.
I would like to bring the narcissism back to you though, because as an amateur writer myself, I work with voice actors and I write my own storylines, put out on Spotify. I write characters and I do my best to make sure that they're good, but I know for a fact that it takes the actor to bring that character to life, because more of like a sketch of what it is. But if you don't have the right actor or actress, someone to bring that person to life, it's dead in the water. Like for facts, like I worked with Kylie Brown on one set of The Essence of Life, and I wrote this character to be like much more strong-willed, and what she brought was like more than I accepted, like more than I wanted to. So putting it back to you, doesn't matter how good you write it, if you don't have that good energy, that good acting, good presence to it, it's just dead in the water. So I'm just putting it back on you, Lilli, that like you really brought Khan like to another level where the lines were really good, but you also equally delivered them really good. So just putting that narcissism back on you now.
I appreciate that. That. She was, I will embrace that. Thank you. She's truly, she's so phenomenal. Just such a well everything character. I thank you for saying that, and I'm so thankful that you two loved her as much as I did. Definitely, like, as I, going into this, I couldn't say much about the game, but I would tell people, I'd be like, my character is really great. Just so you know, like, you are really, if you do play the game, make friends with my character.
I'm just imagining you like handing out copies of the game. It's like, this is a really good game, but like, I'm also really good in it. Don't know if you know that, but I'm in the game. But enjoy it, but I'm in it.
But mostly it's me.
It's me. You're gonna give it to family members as a Christmas gift. Like, I'm in it. So
I should. Yeah. That should be the Christmas gifts. Yes. They get me a console. I give them the game.
Exactly. Like,
there we go.
Hand it out to be like, this is Christmas gift enough. The gift of me.
The gift of me.
Yes.
I also echo what Adam said as well, because I think the actor's performance definitely brings out what's on paper. So, and it's very much for me, in my eyes, an award-winning performance, just to say as well, because I think it is easily one that steals the show. And speaking of show as well, I was just curious, Lilli, are you part of SAG?
I am actually not. I am like SAG must join. So whatever my next contract is, I have to join SAG. But I haven't yet. Not only because of the strike, but also because at the time I just wasn't booking enough to make that fee worth it. But hopefully when the strike is done.
Yeah.
I asked that because obviously with Xandries, he told us like that this kind of project had to be SAG kind of approved, kind of because Cara Gee was involved in it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to like know from your kind of like just as a general as an actor, because obviously you had like SAG strikes, you've had the Writers Guild strike, which has kind of been resolved more or less, and then you have like even this kind of like a thing with AI as well. Like Xandries kind of said like, oh, if we could just replace one person's word with like with AI, it'd be great. And then he's like, Erika Mori just like flipped at him. She's like, no, she's like, you can't say that. Not even with like just a phrase. And then there's like so many ethical lines that have been kind of blurred, because like, for example, I could go and take all Khan's dialogue and then use it in an AI and basically take your performance and start applying it to different things, because you've said so many words that the AI will be able to pick up. But I just kind of wanted to know your perception currently as an actor, seeing the strikes, and then just in general with like AI. It's like, it must be kind of like a little bit of a daunting time as an actor of like what's kind of essentially entrenching on your space at the minute.
It definitely is. I think like a couple months ago, I was deeply terrified about it. And I still think it is extremely problematic when it comes to like human storytelling. I don't think that machines can write human stories the way that humans can. I don't think they know the nuance of just like what it's like to be human. And there's so many just special, like, whatever those like little things of life are that make it a full experience. That will never be able to be replicated by a machine. And when it comes to like voice and acting and like your image or, you know, your tone or whatever it is, that's so specifically unique to you, and it's so special to you as a human and a performer, an artist, that that being jeopardized is horrifying for sure. It's absolutely horrifying. That being said, I recognize that AI is itself a tool. Yes. And it's more the like horror or the anger or the terror or whatever it is actually more directed to the people who plan to use that tool in a certain way. And the tool itself, I think, has the possibility for like incredible things, and, you know, the advances that it can make in medicine and technology, and who knows, like cleaning up our planet or whatever, whatever the like myriad of things that it could be useful and helpful to, I think are wonderful. And so I don't want to, like, you know, shake my fist at AI in general. But when it does come to, like, you know, my particular artistry and like many people's, I was speaking with a like a researcher, and he was talking about how like AI is even going to like affect their field. And like, you know, if you can get a computer to just like sift through all the things out there, like, you know, then, you know, you lose these researchers, but you also lose the like textbooks, the like actual handwritten books that sometimes these researchers have to reference in order to find the exact things. So I think there's limitations to it. I think it's much like we've kind of done with many things as technology goes ahead of perhaps what we as human beings are able to like consciously like think about and like contain. I think I'm really thankful that the SAG actors are striking. I'm really heartbroken that like they're having to do this, and like that this is like kind of where we're at, and that the AMPTP is not really changing their tune. But yeah, I mean, I think that's just kind of a microcosm of all the other issues that are out there. This strike is a bit of, like, feels like the canary bird in the mines. And I think there's a lot more that will come down the line.
No, yeah, it's just it speaks true to me, because like, you know, someday, like, I would like to be musical into musical composition and even writing someday. And it's just like one of those things that, like, the more I try to rise up, the more that AI is rising, and just like that future is also on the line too for a lot of people. And I didn't even think about the researcher aspects, that even AI can just, you know, take a researcher's jobs. Like, we're just worried about the arts, about acting and music and writing. We're not even thinking about the actual research that's going to be in AI. So that speaks a lot home to me. But yeah, there's some things that we don't even realize, but hopefully people realize it. But corporations be corporations, as we like to say.
Yeah, they be corporating too hard.
They do.
People are corporate. So Lilli, one more question I have, and then I'll leave it to Adam, because I imagine you might have like another left field question somewhere. But my last question for you is, like, you basically told us before, like, you know, the inspiration of like Khan was like served by someone that you knew. I was wondering, have they heard you do this performance like as Khan? Did you show them a clip of it, or have they like seen it?
Oh, that's such a good question. You know what? I don't think I have shown her. She definitely doesn't play video games, I'll tell you that much. But I'm going to see her in a week or so I'm going to play her some clips for sure. But, you know, I should also say Khan is also a little bit like my grandpa. My grandpa was like very crass and very like, just like no shits kind of guy. And like when I graduated college, he wrote in my card, I hope you've had fun fucking the dog the last 4 years. Now you can really make something of yourself. And like, I mean, I think you know, I can see where the love is in that, but obviously it's written in a really crass way. And he did not hide his true feelings about about anything. So I think, my grandpa is also a little bit of what inspired Khan in me.
Has he seen the performance?
No, unfortunately, he's passed. Yeah, I know. But somewhere out there, I'm sure he's appreciative.
Well, we can light a cigar to him in tribute. I think that's a good way of doing it. So I'm done on these questions, but I feel like I'm waiting for Adam to throw one of his really left field questions. He's been asking people what their favorite memes are.
I got two left. I got two left to me.
I know I'm not ready.
I got one that's a lighter one and one that might be a little bit more personal.
Mm-hmm.
So I got one. I noticed you were drinking tea before this. Am I right?
Correct.
What are your top 3 teas?
Ooh. Definitely Bengal spice.
Yes.
I've been just like as a classic, I love a lemon zinger.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And currently I'm on this Egyptian licorice mint strain.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
That's wild.
Yeah. It's good. I like it. I like teas that you feel like don't need sweetener.
Yes.
And those teas all have like pretty poppin' flavor. So yeah, I can just drink flavored water.
Basically.
Yeah.
No, so it sounds like you're pretty hype on the tea level. Like you're in it.
I am, man. Maybe it's coming from Colorado and like we have celestial seasonings out there. It's such a hippy dippy thing to say. I think just like growing up around tea, I don't know. I've always been a tea person. Maybe it's the Japanese thing too. I should drink more green tea, but I love
boring, boring. Yeah.
Lilli, what are your roots? Sorry, as well, just because I find it fascinating because I think Erika Mori told that she had she's a quarter Caucasian, quarter Japanese.
Oh, you're actually jumping into my second question.
Sorry.
I was actually just about to dip into that because the second one that might be a little bit more personal. You said that it's nice to be around Erika Mori, who is a half Asian, and you're playing somebody who is representative of the Asian culture. So, for your perspective, right, growing up, what was it more difficult? Only being half Asian? Was it an honor playing somebody who is representative of this role? What are your thoughts on your backgrounds and how you want to represent that culture?
Yeah. Whew. Yes and yes. Yes. It was definitely challenging growing up in Colorado, being a mixed race person. And I think it's also maybe my mom is the white one. And so she was often the one that was with us. And people would always be like, oh, are these your girls? And my mom would be like, yes, these are my girls. I birthed them. They are mine. And I would never, I was like, obviously she's my mom. I'm not really understanding what this thing is. But of course, a white lady with 2 Asian babies, just, looks surprising. And so it took an embarrassingly long time, I think, for me to fully register and recognize my own racial identity in certain ways. Because it's I definitely was oh yeah, I'm Japanese American, or we celebrate Girls' Day, or we have sushi, or my dad's teriyaki. There's certain things that you're oh yeah, this is very cultural, but there's a lot of other things that it's just Colorado's a very white state. All my family that was out there was from my mom's side, so I just grew up primarily around white people, and so it wasn't until college and stuff that I was oh wow, yeah, I started to be able to put words to my differences in that same way and be oh, that's a microaggression, whereas before it was more oh, that's just an uncomfortable comment and I'm just going to play along with the joke to ease the uncomfortability. And college was when it started to register more of oh no, that's racism. That's what that is. So I feel the journey's been definitely long and fluid in many ways. I like auditioned for The Sound of Music when I was little. And I remember like nailing that audition and being like, I know I was the best kid in that room. I totally got this.
Yeah.
And I didn't book the audition. And I just like, I was heartbroken. And I was like, Mom, can we call the theater? Can we like ask them what I did wrong? Like what I can do to improve, to be better. And she like, you know, called them up and they were like, she just doesn't look like any of the other kids. And I think it just like, that's when things started to like register for me of like, oh, this is maybe going to be a challenging path that I want to take. Because even if I didn't see it, if I was like, I could be Juliet, I could be this, I could be Romeo, I could be like whatever. Yeah. I just didn't see what everyone else was kind of seeing for a long time. And then go ahead.
Sorry, do you feel like the same mindset now as well? Because it seems like roles keep changing. So it's like, even like, I think like, for example, if like we took Mary Jane from like Spider-Man, I don't think you could really count the idea that it could be a Hispanic person or it could be someone who's Chinese. I think like, because I think people now are interpreting things in different ways. So it's like, if a character is like Superman and he's Caucasian, I wouldn't be ruling out, even despite whatever backlash or whatever people think, that you could have a black Superman or you could have someone else. I think people are kind of rewriting the wheel. Do you still feel the same way? Like, you know, those roles that kind of felt quite distant, that you couldn't be able to do something now that'd be a bit...
Yeah, I think things are changing, definitely. And I think that there is like a lot more representation out there, and it's very exciting to see, for sure. I think we're like slightly heading towards the other side of the pendulum swing, where it's like, okay, we're asking for an Asian character, but they have to be Chinese. And it's like, oh, I don't identify as Chinese, so I can no longer go out for this role.
Wow.
So now it's like, it's gotten almost like hyper specific, where it's also problematic. Because it's like, we don't ask the Eurocentric people like, well, are you from Germany or are you from Ireland?
Yeah.
Like, well, you know, this is actually a Scottish play. So, or, you know, whatever the thing is. So I think, we are absolutely heading in a better direction than we were back when I was a kid. But once again, I think we're like, to a degree, overcorrecting in certain areas. And, you know, we just continually have to like navigate that space. But it is, you know, it's so exciting to see like more Asian films even like coming out and like hitting a mainstream. And just like getting more recognition and Asian actors getting more recognition. And it felt really special to get to play an Asian character. Again, that was something where it was like, oh, I'm not Vietnamese and that's not part of my ancestry, but I am Asian. So
I feel that just because like, especially the hyper specific, because I'm coming from a Jewish background, but I've been hearing a lot. It's just like, oh, well, you don't look Jewish. And it's just like, first of all, what do you mean by that? And it's
totally.
Like, second of all, it's just like, it's just like, if you're going to represent like a Jewish character, like they have to look the part. And it's just like, I don't like that. Don't like how we have to be specific of what Jewish people need to look like. Harrison Ford is Jewish. And it's just like, you don't really think about it, but
there you go.
Deborah Messing, Jewish. John Barenthal, Jewish. But, you know, what do I know? But it's like what you said, like the more hyper specific roles, it's like it can be also problematic for some races where it's just like, you know, why the hyper specific? But no, that was a great answer, by the way. That was
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
it was great answer to wrap everything.
Yes,
it was a great answer to wrap everything up, because I think we can wrap up here. We've taken a lot of your time, and we're obviously very grateful for that, Lilli. But we'll wrap up here. So if, I hope you all enjoyed this as well. One more time as well, if you are new here, please do drop a subscribe, turn on notifications, like the video and share with your friends, help support the channel more than anything else. Lilli will have like links to your places where people can find you in the comment and the description as well. So go and follow Lilli on Instagram and tell her how great she is as Khan, because she needs to hear it, because she's not appreciating how great her performance is and taking away all the credit from it. But Lilli, more than anything else, thank you so much for coming on. It was really great to chat with you. As me and Adam said, we loved Khan. We were like, we really wanted you on here, and we obviously owe Zachary Andrews a lot for helping us get in contact with you as well, and also Frost as well. But yeah, stay tuned, guys. There's more content to come. Obviously, had a very wonderful guest on here. We'll have more to come in the future. So without further ado, take care. We'll see you later.
Thank you so much. Subscribe.
Let's go.
Thank you.